Hey, Kowalsky here. Welcome back to another video. Now, in this video I want to present you a great revenge story of mine, and it's gonna be featuring two games from like 1 year apart, and you're gonna see the difference. I played the same opponent, and it's actually all random. We didn't like speak, we didn't plan this, but we played the game 1 year ago, and I'm gonna show you that game first. Now, here I was rated 1850. Now, you know, that was 1 year ago. In this time span, I managed to pump my rating up 150 points. I'm now 2100. So you obviously see the evolution. But how did I play 1 year ago? Let's see. Well, obviously I began the game with c4 because that's all I knew. Still to this day, that's pretty much all I know. We played the symmetrical, and I'm not gonna worry about the theory too much. Now, the funny thing is, we actually went into the same variation, and here during the years I played e3, and this move lost me all of the games. I literally have 100% loss rate in this variation, and since then I kind of changed it. Now knight f3 is much more accurate, but you're gonna see that even to this day I play something very similar. Now castles here, d6, and this is actually transposing into some variations where I actually have a 40% win rate, and this with d4, now I'm starting to really get into my shape. Here, instead of, after this move a6, here other opponents have played cd4, bishop f5 or e6 against me, and I beat almost every one of them. But here, Mr. Chessmaster Seals played the move a6, and this is a new move. Here apparently some grandmasters have played the move b3, and I'm gonna play a very similar b3 idea in my own game against him, but in this game I played a6, and now we have a completely new game. So basically he played rook b8, going for the standard plan of going b5, and here I went rook b1, calculating that essentially if b5 were to happen, now I can just take the knight. I mean, this is not very complicated, so that's why he went bishop d7, and so I didn't waste time and I went b4. I really like to play aggressive on the queen side, and b6. Now really I should have played b5, just gaining a lot of space, because if takes, for example, c takes, now I just get a passed pawn, and with my bishop being so strong, after a move like knight a5, his knight is stranded, and I mean, no, his knight cannot go back into the game. Knights on the rim are dim. But instead of that, after b6 I played knight f4, having this idea. Back then I used to have these ideas of always knight f4 to knight d5, or just knight f4 as an idea after knight e2, or knight g3, which ideas that are okay in certain variations, but I overuse them. And here after I go knight d5, I make a massive mistake by not taking his knight here. The thing is, here I went back with the knight, trying to remove the knight, but it doesn't work that way, because now he just takes, and in the end he merges up a pawn. Now after the move rook e8, queen f3, here, you know, he actually has the advantage because he's up a pawn, and his pieces are gonna be more active. But here he makes the mistake of going bishop h3. Now I had this move bishop h7, king h8, bishop f1, bishop f1, and now a desperado, as Gotham Chess would call it, bishop g6. I'm gonna lose the bishop anyway, so I'm gonna pick up a pawn, and now I'm up a pawn, right? Like I'm up a pawn simply, and I'm winning. But back then I didn't have such an eye for tactics, and I simply played rook d1. And queen to f6 now is a horrible mistake by my opponent. What he should have played instead was maybe a move like queen d7, try to connect this battery of queen and bishop on the light squares, and also defend his f7 pawn. But he chose queen f6, which now allows me to trade queens, and in this position I'm actually not doing all that bad. I'm only minus like 0.8, even though I'm down a pawn. Here I should have went for maybe a4, but instead I went bc5 and then a4, And here after he went a5, running out of options, I thought trading bishops would be good. What I failed to realize is that his rooks are much more active than mine. So he attacked my pawn, and now he went passive, basically. He should have played active, rook e2, rook a2, threaten something, if king f3, rook a2 for example. And if I try to defend, let's say here, I try to defend, he just goes rook c2, and I try to defend, no problem, he goes rook b2. He makes room for his other rook, and now it's GG's. So rook bc1, rook b7, now I rook d6, and I'm attacking his pawn. He comes in with the king, and obviously I don't even have words. Obviously I give away a game again, because f3, rook e2 check, king h3. Now after king e7, here I played rook d5, because you cannot really double up the rooks. Now rook a2, and you really don't have options. You're gonna be forced to go rook d5 anyway. So I went rook d5, and here after the rook trade, he's completely winning after king d6. For example, king d6, rook b6, king takes, and now I go here, he goes here, I take, boom, and now he's winning, because my king is just too far away. What is my king doing on h3? Like a long time ago when I played f3, rook e2 check, I maybe, you know, king h3, this was such an idiotic thing to do. But okay, fast forward a few moves later, and now he plays rook d4, giving me the option to make a draw. After rook c5, rook a4. Now the thing is, after I give him this check, apparently this setup is drawing for white. Like, I don't care that, so for example, rook a2, so that I don't move my king, king g4 anyways. If you take, I take, and if, for example, you go h5 or something, I just go king g5, and that's it. That's it. I mean, it's a draw. Because he cannot push this pawn, he cannot give me any checks, and I'm gonna slowly build up a fortress. But instead of that, I took on a5. Now this gives him the c-passed pawn, and here again, I just allow him to completely cut my king off. Here maybe, you know, maybe I could have went for something like rook a8, and if, for example, something like king d5, just go for something like a5. If he moves the rook, just push. And if he goes, for example, king c6, now I could just try to win the other pawns. This is still not perfect, but I'm just saying that maybe there were some other things that I could have tried here. Rook f7, for example. Now let's say he takes, I take, and maybe somehow I'm gonna get something similar in the game anyway, so we're gonna see. Here instead I simply cut off my king, and now he just has to push the pawn, but he takes instead. If c3, then simply my king is not fast enough. I'm simply not fast enough, I'm losing. But he takes, I take, again he doesn't push, and now I take again he doesn't push. I go king e2, now finally freeing my king, and now this is a draw. If anything, I have some winning chances maybe with the two passed pawns, but not really, because his passed pawn is advanced. I decide to sack one of them to get this position, which is surely a draw. I mean, you cannot go wrong. Literally, table base says it's a draw. And the thing is, in this endgame, if you play it poorly, you're gonna start having less and less options. For example, here I have about like 10 options that draw. 8, now again still 8, a lot of options, 6, 8, 10, because it's also about like legal moves. You know, I have a lot of options, but here, you know, I start to get into the deeper zones. Like here I have only a few options, but I choose one of them. That's correct. Here king e2 draws. Okay, he goes rook f3, sorry, rook e5, and here I should have went king f2 or king f3. Why? Well, king d3 loses because of king d1, but what's more interesting is king f1 also loses because of rook b5. And now you're gonna get your king out this way. So it was essential, and if king f2, rook b5, now you have g7. And in this variation, you don't have g7 because of rook b8, of rook b8, because of rook b8, and now after king e2 you still get king b2, and that's it. If the king is on f2, like if the king is on f2 and now you go for the same idea here, apparently after rook b8 you have the move rook b6. This is such a scumbag move, and now it's a draw because takes and you make a queen, but the pawn is basically on c2, and even if this rook would not have been on the board, this would have been still a draw. Wow, what a line. I wouldn't have found that. But here he gives me a check, and now I blunder the game again. Now he blunders the game. Now I blunder again. But now this is for the final time. He just gives me a check and goes king d1. And now that's it. I mean, I give that this checks don't matter. So I lose the game. It's 0-1. And now fast forward a year later, this is the game that I want to show you. Okay. So I'm playing with the white pieces again, and he's playing with the black pieces again. Now, if you look at our ratings, I improved my rating by a lot. He really improved it by only 100. I improved it by about 150. So I went c4, and we played the exact same symmetrical English. This time I played it with knight f3. I still played it with e3, don't get me wrong, and I still played it in kind of like the same spirit, but here this time I went for b3, the grandmaster move. And now there are actually grandmaster games, which is a good sign. This has been played by Vidit, for example, or even players like Ding Liren. And here after the move a6 we have a4, and this whole idea of b3 a4 is to stop the move b5 and also create this square for the bishop that it can target this pawn on. And also I'm not afraid of a move like knight b4 because it doesn't really do anything. It's really all this, there's nothing on these squares, and maybe it's gonna be annoying because I cannot go with my queen here, but I'm gonna go queen d2 anyways. So he plays bishop g4, now pinning my knight. I should go h3 here, this has to be noted, and after the trade, right, I'm gonna be fine. Obviously I'm gonna have the bishop pair, I'm gonna have a better position. But I play bishop a3 now, allowing cd4, ed4, and after queen c8, now I'm forced to go for rook e1, rook e8, and queen d2, because I have to move my queen out of the way. Now here he goes h6, which is not the best of the best moves, but also I don't counter with the best move. Here I thought about the move d5, but after the move bishop takes, I didn't really like this prospect here of him getting his knight here. But then again, computer says I'm much better, and if I go, for example, for oh sorry, he moves, for example, queen f5, but if I go for something like rook ad1, I should be fine here. I have pieces that are more active, and this bishop can come to life. Now in the game, what happened after rook e3, he went back, now allowing me to double stack the rooks, and I thought about double stacking the rooks, but I was like, oh, if I go rook e1, then maybe he's gonna go here, and then I'm gonna have to go back, and then maybe he can somehow play a move that stops me from taking this pawn. I don't know what move, because queen d7 doesn't really work, because I just go h3, he goes back, and now I just go g4, and then he goes back, and now I just go d5, and that's it. But then again, it's a rapid game, so after this sequence, I was already down to about 5 minutes, so I decided to play knight d5, calculating correctly that if knight takes, now his knight is very isolated here, cannot really get back into the game, and so now I double stack. And now when he goes queen d8, now I have this annoying knight h4. And if he goes for a move like bishop g4, well, this is losing now because h3. And for example, if you take, now I just have takes. Or not even rook takes, but even better, bishop takes. Because now, let's say if you try to go here, I just take. And if you go, for example, to c8, again, I just take. And now I'm up a pawn, and that's it. I have a passed pawn that's gonna get pushed, and you're just gonna lose. But instead, after knight h4, he played another mistake here. Apparently he should have played knight c8, defending the pawns, and I thought about it, and apparently it is the right thing to do. But after bishop f6, I just took, and now I just have bishop d6 right away. I don't know why I didn't play that, because I had it in mind. Apparently I just my mind went blank because, you know, this is winning still. I mean, this is still winning. I don't know what happened with me. But I played the rook f3 now, thinking that, well, if he goes for something like, I don't know, moving the queen, now I can just take the pawn. Here, if he went for like queen g5, maybe I had a move like takes. Oops, nope. Just rook f4. But I played rook f4 in the game anyways. Here. Now he forced the queen trade. I didn't really understand why. And now I just attacked the pawn. I took the pawn. And here, I mean, in the end, I was left with a passed pawn. Here, I actually made a mistake by pushing it too far. Now I realized that I had to just get my rook out of there and grab a few pawns. And in the end, now I'm just, after all, I'm up 3 pawns, and this is just completely winning. And here I play a very, very classy move after the move f4. A very classy move, a very fun move, like just so icing on the cake. G takes f4, just giving up the rook, but h7. By the way, this is like the only winning move. Now if I play something very dumb like f5, he just has rook takes a4, and by the time that I go here, he can actually defend the pawn. But I just play h7, and that's it. There's no way to stop the pawn. There's literally no way to stop the pawn. And king g4, and he resigns. So 2 games, 1 year apart. As you can see from the opening, I was much better prepared, and you know, I was in much better shape. I knew the plans compared to last year. I didn't really know what to do. Now I just knew what I had to do, and with a very minimal risk, I managed to get a very okay position. So you know, we can all evolve, and you know, some people grow faster, some people grow slower. I'm not growing the fastest, but still, if you stick to your guns, if you just train, you're gonna surely grow at some point. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you all in the next one. Kowalsky out.